Good afternoon. The mayhem you can hear in the background is the Amazon man. One second. And I'm back again. Sorry about that. I swear they have a, sensor. There must be a thing on the outside of our house that goes, Liz has gone live. Please ring doorbell now. Because they never ring the doorbell, except when they come, when I'm live. So, this should be, this is a different pot. Get your faces out. So I ordered some slightly fatter pins because I like fat pins. So I also ordered, remember I got the monster tub of pins the other day? Well, I ordered some secondary pins that are just a little bit fatter. Just a hair. So that I have some alternative new shiny pins. I'm slightly disappointed that they came in a cardboard box and not in the big plastic tub, because I really like that big plastic tub. I wish you could buy the big plastic tubs, actually. So, let's get down to business. So it is that time. We're going to be doing triangle. I did consider doing more of the Flanders, to be honest. But as I said yesterday, one of the biggest concerns about spending too much time doing a alternative product is the fact that all it does is drag this one out a bit. So I'm going to do the Flanders one, but not necessarily. I'm going to do more of it. Obviously, I'm going to finish the square. But what I do want to do is maybe not do some of it on screen, so that I'm in a position to continue. Now, I did not refill Hedgie after the Flanders experiment yesterday, so there isn't much left on Hedgie, but we will continue hedging for now. Just because that's a good plan. You're too long because your friends are shorter. So we'll just use up these pins and go back to the old method of stabbing myself in the pin pot. It could be worse. It could be worse. And I saw you just flat undoing then. I did. I was watching you. You're just coming undone because you can. Despite having an extra layer of thing. Never mind. This feels so much more open and breezy today, following the Flanders experiment. I mean, I know I will still moan about there being lots of bobbins, come the bottom of this triangle, but come the bottom of this section, because there are quite a lot of bobbins. But not compared to the Flanders one. But then that's one of the reasons I chose to use the thinner bobbins, was because it is... Did I twist that twice? I did, because I'm stupid. Now you twist it twice. So yes. We are back to the land of the normal today. check something. Just grab that. Let me just check that they're all twisted before I go any further. That last one is not. It's probably what made me think of it. So, will you all stop undoing? It's the one thing that really drives me nuts about making lace, is the fact that so many times the bobbins seem to come undone to spite you, even when you've done fancy knots and all of these things to stop that. They still come undone. So like here, if I can get my finger in it, there you go, I wrap it round twice to give it a bit more of a secure thing, and it still comes undone. Undo you, undo you. So, bin, note to self. Next time, check before you start. See, not crust. It's surprising how much of a difference it makes. I mean, to be honest, in terms of integrity for lace, it doesn't matter. But, like we keep saying, the biggest thing about lace is consistency. So either make them all uncrossed or none of them. Not some, because then they look silly. You, and we take you. Let's put this over here. Yeah, I'm really disappointed they came in a cardboard tub. They are the right ones though. So. Just a bit of a shame. You see, the difference between yesterday's bobbins and today's bobbins is the 12 bobbins only took up about that much space. So these are like an inch more's worth of bobbins. Come on! For fuck's sake, dog. You were the one that wanted to get down because she said the Amazon man was here. Nobody else cared that the Amazon man was here. Oh, look, found a spare pin. Don't hide them down the sides. It's my own fault. Rory, you need to just lie down. I don't need your head. No. Yes, I don't. I do love my dogs very much, but I love them more when they're asleep. You are too long. Give me the loop. The dog is off again. I don't see why, as far as I know. What are they worried about? Oh, next door I've got a visitor. How terrible of them. This feels like a lot of bobbins, but after yesterday, it's not, you know. Didn't check it was crossed. Says Edgy is now empty. Poor Edgy. There we go. Now to bring back fat pins. Well, that's where that went. There we go. Right. Fat pins. See, I go to pick up pins and they're all the wrong way up. No ends to grab hold of. Definitely need to find a way of sorting pins. Rory, get your face out. Come on. Come on. 2, 3, 4, 5. This is why it takes so much longer to A, fill hedgy, and B, take pins out the pot, because you go to grab some and there's just none. It just doesn't grab one. They're all kind of mixed together. Oh. Hang on. Don't need to join you two together because, well, you're not to join together. You're done. You're now done. Yeah, you just go to pick it and it all seems to be pointy end up. Oh, Amy, give it a break, please. Hello, welcome to the channel. Do feel free to ask any questions you like. I will do my best to answer. I am not a god tier lace maker. I would argue I'm quite a baby lace maker, really. I do have a habit of picking up crafts. You don't need to count them. There is nothing to count. That's the beauty of it. So, for example, hang on, let me finish this stitch. Right. It is twirly twirly. Lace making is made of only 2 moves, right? So let me go back to the start of this. Right now, there is only 1 pin I can work on this entire board, and that's this pinhole here, because you must have the 2 pins that come together to meet. So if I cross these over, these meet at the pinhole. So these are the only 2 pairs of bobbins I can use right now. All these other ones are basically can bugger off. And the stitch that I am doing, you do cross, which is left over right, and twist, right over left. You then stab it with a pin in the pinhole, and do what is known as covering the pin, which means do it again. So cross and twist. You have now moved. Oh look, the only pin I can now work is that one, and I need these 2 bobbins. That's it, you don't count. The only counting involved is when you have to fill the bobbins before you start, and you know you need, like, so obviously there's in this case, because I'm making a triangle, this is my working line, you know, this is kind of like the starting line. So you need one pair of bobbins for every pin and one extra for the first one. That's it. This they do. Now, yes and no. It depends on the pattern. So, for sake of the argument, if the entire square was made of this stitch, not really. This particular one, which we will get to very shortly, is cloth stitch, and there is one pair that goes backwards and forwards all the way across like this, and it does it for the whole of this zigzag to here, which is the bottom of my triangle. That one does need a lot more because it's doing the zigzags. Everything else, it's kind of like rays of light. So a bobbin here comes out, gets to the edge, and then comes down and gets to this edge, where it comes across, gets to this edge, so it bounces around. So in essence, the rest of them kind of equal out. And of course, it depends where they interact with some of this. So a bobbin coming into here will just hop across and go down. So it kind of, they can slightly divert. So for example, the bobbin pair that come in at this point here from that pin actually go straight out to that pin. So it's not quite a straight line and they jiggle around. But realistically, they do need slightly different amounts. Please do not ask me how much, because I've got no freaking idea. I just put a crap load of thread on and hope. Because unlike every other wretched crafting thing, no one has an exact science for it. I mean, there is this kind of general rule of thumb of, 4 times the length of your project. And as some wise lady pointed out, that works really well for things like, well, it's the safest option, isn't it? But some wise lady on Facebook pointed out that works really well for things like bookmarks that are quite small. When you get to bigger things, it doesn't work at all. She was making a scarf or something, so she did the 4 times the length kind of thing, and almost had enough to make 2 more scarves out of it. So it is one of those things that it does kind of, I mean, it is quite frustrating because obviously, you know, if you've got something like this, well, exactly, right? I do weaving, and in weaving, you very much accurately can predict exactly how much you want. In knitting and crochet, people with you know, will tell you, oh, you need so much for that. It will say you need so many balls of yarn. When it comes to lace making, they just go, this is the size of yarn you should use, enjoy. Okay? Not even going to give me a hint. Cheers for that. And I find that quite frustrating because it means that, I mean, no one wants to start their lace with knots. And of course, that's always a problem with things with colour. Anything that has a level of dye lots kills you. But at the same time, much like anything else, let's say you're doing quite a big picture and there's a lot of background and it is plain. It's not lots of, you know, similar colours. It is absolutely flat one colour. You're going to need an awful lot of skeins to do that. But you also don't want to buy 20 of them to use 5 and it'd be done. Not really. And then they wonder why we crafters turn into hoarders. Well, but this is why we end up like hoarders, because you have to overbuy on the off chance, and then, well, next time you come round to it, well, let's say you've got 4 skeins left. Well, you know you needed 5. Well, you can't use the 4 you've got. Now you've got to buy at least 5 more new ones. This is why we end up hoarders, because you end up with bits, and unless you're doing small projects, you have to buy more than you want. Then you've got bits. Cones are good, don't get me wrong. As a weaver, I've got a house full of cones. But you don't, you... But this is it. It becomes really frustrating because you end up with a house full of product and, you know, almost, you know, if someone said to me, could you do this? Well, yes, but none of the stuff haven't got the right amount of anything, and I've got to buy new stuff despite having an entire warehouse full of shit. Because I do multi-crafting, obviously I've got varying things for varying crafts. And you just end up with, you know, a ton of stuff, and yet it is kind of like the airhead goes shopping, you know. She goes out, she comes home with like 68 bags of new clothes. Let's go out tonight. I haven't got a thing to wear. It is exactly that. Yeah. Right, my little parking lot boards, they represent the triangles and squares that I've made to date. So I am working on the second half, so there's a triangle under this blue bit of cloth, and if I lift this up, you can just about see it. So hence, the last square has got one triangle, that one, right? And that is the big problem with all of it, is that no matter how much you've got, when it comes to a project, you still end up buying something, and you have to overbuy the something, but then when you've got to the end of the project, you haven't got enough necessarily to do, say, the same project again, so the next project you do, you would still need to buy more. And then you have, say, 20 of the same colour blue, but they're not the same colour blue because of the dye lots. And you can't do jack crap with none of them because unless you're making a tiny thing, it's not going to be enough. So there you are, 20 years later, you've still got the same skeins you had 20 years ago because each time you've got some left over and you can't use it. So yeah, it is. I mean, exactly. You know, it's the problem is it's something only another crafter truly understands, but there are crafts that you can do where, of course, things like dye lots don't count. So for example, woodworking. Every piece of wood is unique, therefore there is no such thing as, well, I need to buy them all in one go, because it doesn't matter, right? There is, but stains you can argue might need to do that. In terms of spinning natural yarn, i.e. not dyeing it, you just buy more. If you need more, you buy more. If you do pottery, if you do 3D printing, the filament tends to be undyed. You know, the dye, the colour is the same, whether you bought it yesterday or 6 years ago. But for the rest of us who have threads, who have dyed things matter. And you have to get the right ones, otherwise, I did it, right? You know, the true depressed moment, I was making a king-sized bedspread double knitted blanket. So that's double-sided, shit ton of yarn, and I ordered a crap ton of yarn to make it with, obviously. So, you know, along comes like 2 lorries full of yarn, right? But I made a head start because, quote, this yarn doesn't have dye lots. So great, thought me. I've got a couple of balls, I'll get going. So I did. My yarn arrived. The yarn I had was not the yarn I thought I had. I was using a multicolour kind of flecked yarn, for want of a better description, and white. So it was kind of a darkish colour, flecks with white. The white was... there, of course, was bright white and soft white. I thought I was using bright white, because it didn't, of course... Yep. And so when I started the next one... So the next time when I got my new balls of wool, and it looked the same shit, you know, from a distance. Yeah, how can you have 12 shades of frigging white? Well, it's not white then, is it? It's either white or off-white. It's white with a hint of. It's not white. Anyway, so of course there was me. Now it took 90 minutes to knit a row, right? And of course when you're double knitting, you knit a row, but the row only is on the loops of your thing, so it doesn't show up. So you had to do a few rows before it really stood out. And it was like I dunked it in a bath of tea, because the other one looked like nicotine yellow next to it. But of course it looked white originally. Yeah, there were tears. There were utter tears. There was, that was not... Well, it is. And it's like lots of things. It's like a good navy looks black until you put it next to black, and blue when you do. It's there are lots of things that just don't work right, and they need to make dog tasers. Because my neighbours apparently have a visitor. Oh my God, you would think the world was being invaded by aliens. Anyway, right, we have finished this section here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can tell because I've reached this line. That means that's where it changes. So I'm going to put these on a stick, which holds them still so that they can bugger off out into the universe. These need to go on a stick. Right. We will need you, and we will need a couple of you. So we're going to grab a couple of you, because we only need a couple of you for the moment. In case you're wondering why I flip them over, because it's not a normal thing to do. People think I'm weird. I flip them for a really simple reason. This means all these threads are flat. They're not twisted. Whereas if you spin them around like that, you're twisting the threads. And then it's too easy to pick up the wrong one, or too easy to, cock it up. So in the endeavours... Well, you'd be surprised, because people do go, well, that doesn't look sensible, because obviously flipping it is, a bit of an effort. That's right, it's got caught round this pin, as inevitably threads do. Right. So, for example, let me demonstrate. Oh, I didn't realise this pin's super bent. How have I bent that? Jesus Christ. Maybe it was bent before I started and I never really noticed. So let me demonstrate with these few bobbins here, right? If I have them flat like this, which is how they would be used here, and I turn them round, you can't really see because there aren't many of it. You've escaped from in there. Go back in there. But they're now twisted. If, for sake of the argument, you fucked up and went round this way, well, of course, now it's got a big twist in it. But it also shows to me that these are my unused yet bobbin piles, and these are the in-use bobbin piles, and it helps keep it clear. Obviously, I flip them over in order, so the ones that I'm going to use last, which is this bottom corner, it's just kind of a bit of organisation without too much hassle. Just gonna twist you before I forget, and put you over here out of the way, because I don't actually need you immediately. we need you. And we actually only need you, because you are the only one that I can work with. So, put in a pin. These pins in the pot are really annoying, but filling up my little pin cushion hedgehog, this little dude here, tiny ass pin cushion, but I'd say it takes a few hours to actually put all the pins in the hedgehog, to actually fill it up. And then it doesn't take very long to empty it. So the problem I've got is these pins all seem to be point upwards. I mean, they're not. You look inside and you can see them. But when you grope around, your fingers don't catch on the tops of pins. They just slide straight off. And it just seems to take forever. And just realised, there we go, doing a different stitch now. So that goes in there. Then we need you. Give me a pin. So you go in there. So these go back this way. Oops, nose. And then we need you. And we add you. And we put in a pin. So this is this pair, which is why I have a load of older bobbins and a load of newer bobbins. And I picked the newer bobbins to be the working pair so that I could easily spot them. Because, well, it helps you tell if you fuck up, frankly. So, you know, again, visual cues are a thing. Other things, you can do other things, which is, you know, always an option. There are other things you could do, like I could put an elastic band around the middle of it or something, so that I could find them. If you do spangles, I hate spangles. I loathe spangles with more passion. They aren't the most hated thing in the universe. I mean, there are, you know, there's some genuine hate for, you know, child molesters and, you know, but in terms of inanimate objects, spangles, these little spangles on the end, they're pretty. Oh, don't get me wrong. Oh, so pretty. You can have, I mean, this red is really beautiful. But what happens is as you use them, they flip around like that, and then they get trapped underneath. Then your bobbins don't lie properly. Then they tangle on each other, and then you just want to throw them out in the garden or use them as fire starters. So, spangles and I are not friends. So, lots of people use spangles and love them, and because it stops your bobbins rolling around. Well, it is, and I've got some new bobbins. I'm a very plain person. I don't like patterns on my walls. I don't like patterns on my clothes. I don't want it on my carpet. I don't really want it on my curtains, although these curtains have actually got patterns on, but they came with a house, is my excuse. I did not choose these. I don't hate them. The pattern is kind of flowers, but they look more like spots with a kind of... They look like spots with a very faint kind of leaf and stem thing in the background. So, to be honest, not the biggest fan, and they are throughout the house. But they are subtler. They're not in your face like neon orange or something. You know, they are quite subtle. Everything in my house is a shade of beige. You'll notice my avatar's wearing a beige jumper. This is because I live in beige jumpers. But I bought some new bobbins, and I've really fallen for these new bobbins. Now, I like these bobbins. These were my second favourite bobbins, to some that are a bit like this, but have a much more bulbous end on the end. Oh, you made me forget whose these are now. Danish. These are Danish. These are known as Danish mushroom bobbins because they've got a little mushroom on the top. I'm also dyslexic, so words just kind of vacate my head, and it'll be like, "What's your name?" So yeah, these are Danish mushroom bobbins, and they're real fucking cheap, which is why I quite like these. So I've got quite a few. Yeah. Funny enough, Bob was my nickname at school, because of Blackadder. So there we go. But these are Danish. The ones that I've got are. I can't. There's a. They've got a stupid name. Anyway, they've got really wide wings on like the top and here, and then a big bulbous bit and an incredibly skinny waist. They were my favourite, and I still really like those. They're really good for bolster cushions. But I have fallen in love with these. Now, let me bring you back the stupid Midlands bobbin with spangle. And as a comparison, a Honiton bobbin, or otherwise in my world known as toothpick, because, well, they're light and they're kind of... Anyway, I bought these. Now, they look just like a Midlands bobbin, only a little bit beefier, you know. Obviously, he's been down the gym and done a bit of steroids. But these these are heavy. These weigh, I mean, I picked up one of these yesterday. This is fairly, I mean, it's got some weight to it because there's a pile of bobbins in a stick. But you can fit 12 of these. Pretty much. Well, that's all a Midlands bobbin needs to be. So, you know, let's truly be honest here. They're not fancy. Plain, kind of liking plain. But these are made of wood that is naturally heavy. And this pair of bobbins, I'd say add another bobbin, this weighs as much as the 5 pairs in a stick, right? These weigh, right? And I've just ordered 750 more of them and I've already got 150. So, I'm broke now. Utterly broke. But... But the lovely seller did also send me these. Now, I was curious about these, and I didn't want to buy some. That's me down to a T. Why do you think I'm making a frigging net curtain out of lace, right? Because I made a bookmark, and my brain went, hey, let's make a net curtain. It's had a bit of a fascination with curtains ever since I learnt to double net, and my brain went, you know, if you use thread like kind of this size, and like 1mm knitting needles, you could make a big mural to cover your window in the bedroom, because I don't tend to undo my curtains. And it's kind of like, yes, brain, yes, I could. But the 5,000-6,000 stitches it would be to do the shortest, which would be the up and down length of the curtain, would take like most of a day to knit one row. Bugger off. And it was like, but I really want to. So it keeps reminding me of, but we should do that, we should do that. And so when I'd made a bookmark, my brain went, we could do a net curtain now. Hence I made the pack with the brain. We will make the entire net curtain live on camera, every frigging minute of it. And I will save it on YouTube for forevermore. So that the next time you have a big idea, and bear in mind there's been tears and meltdowns already, I will point you to the video and you can rewatch why this is a bad idea. Anyway, the seller of the lovely heavy bobbins sent me a little gift. And I'd seen them on their website, but... Now... Well, basically, yes. I'm going to document my descent into madness. Now, I really want a 3D printer just because I want a 3D printer, and every crafter wants a 3D printer because there's so many little things you could make that will be the right size finally, because everything that you buy is just not quite big enough or doesn't quite hold as many as you'd like, or right? And of course you can make it in the colours of your choice, etc., right? So we all want a 3D printer and we're all trying not to buy one, and I'm still in the hovering over the buy button stage of buying one. And because I wanted to make, the heavy bobbins are the reason why, I hadn't had them yet because they only arrived this week, but I wanted to make very similar style bobbins out of 3D printing, but put small metal rods in the end so they had a bit of weight to them. That was my thought on how to make slightly heavier bobbins. Hence the 3D printer, because you'd stop it halfway, slot in your metal thing, and then finish the print. They'd be encapsulated, jobs again. Now, but I didn't know how I'd like the 3D printed ones. I didn't know whether I'd like them. So I do not know whether these are resin or 3D printed, to be honest. But they sent me these, which are very similar in size. So go back to my Midlands bobbin. They're a bit bigger. Very similar in size to the wooden ones, if I pull out the wooden one. Again, a bit chunkier, but not a lot chunkier, just a little bit chunkier. Now, the only concern I do have is these are really shiny here, so the thread would slip a lot. But the rose's got a really good dent on it, so that it would hold the knot nicely. But these are quite nice. These would make great gimp bobbins. And I really do like them, but the problem is you get a bit of acetone, you wipe it over your 3D printer, and then they go shiny. So it isn't as easy to tell. Now they do seem to have a join line, so I would go with resin. But still, that could just be a break in the printing. Well, if I could just borrow the frigging lathe, I'd make my own. I was the daughter of a carpenter. My dad taught me how to make all these things. Unfortunately, and I've always joked about this throughout my entire life. My dad, when I was a child, did a lot of woodworking. And I mean, a lot of woodworking. But the problem was, he made something for everyone but me. So throughout my childhood, he was making stuff for other people. And I wasn't... Yeah. When I was older... Yeah, very much. When I was older, and I finally kind of was into crafting and had a few things that I wanted. Now, for example, as a weaver, a warp board is kind of essential, and all it really is a picture frame with broom handles sticking out of it. So it doesn't even have to be rectangular, it just has to be, you can wind round the pegs do have to be parallel. That's the only stipulation, the pegs must be parallel, right? You wind round the pegs, you've got the length you want, jobs again, right? He wouldn't make me one. He wouldn't even get 4 planks of wood, glue them together, drill a few holes in it, and ram some broom handle in for me. He wouldn't do that. And I was really upset by it because, as I say, as a child, my dad had made countless things for countless people. I mean, he made, for no charge, thanks Dad, a 4-poster bed for a daughter of a friend. He turned the corners. It was beautiful. It was majestic, right? This thing was a thing of beauty. I couldn't even get him to make me a picture frame with broom handle sticking out of it. And when I tell you that 4 planks of wood with broom handle sticking out of it, so I don't know, 10 quid's worth of lumber and a £5 broom handle, with a bit of glue, a tiny bit of sawing stroke chisel work that I could have made age 8 in wood shop. They want £150 for that. And you're like, but it's like half an hour's work. And that's if you're really dragging it out and you sand everything and make it all pretty. Seriously? And so, this is why we crafters suffer, right? Is that we get to a point where you want something and you look at the price that the world is charging for it and you go, but I could make one for so much less. 1, 2, 3, 4. I can't justify paying that amount of money, but at the same time, to make it pretty and how you'd want it. So you want a router, you need a bandsaw, you want some chisels, you need this, you need a table, you need, some masks, you need some, but you don't want to spend the £1,000 of gear it costs to and then of course if you've paid for the tools, well, you feel compelled to use them more, and now you're making shit for the sake of making shit, and hence the problem with like the 3D printer. I really want a 3D printer, but I only have a handful of things I arguably want to print. Now admittedly, I would make a shit ton of bobbins, because, and here's the thing, I would build into my bobbins a better way of doing stick, right? I would have to think about how I was going to do it, but basically I would want almost the ability to give them little wings that can then match together, because occasionally you put two bobbins together and you want them to act as one. Well, if you could latch them together, so one has like a little up on one side and one has a down on the other, so you can latch them together. They'll have wings so they don't rotate. Fucking marvellous, right? I have ideas. And I'm shit, but I could 3D model that, right? I really could manage that. Well, exactly. And so there is this bit of you that kind of sits there going, but once I've, say, made me an almighty crap ton of these bobbins, well, I don't need to make more bobbins, because, well, unless the dog eats one, or I, stamp on it, or, insert, some bobbin death, because bobbins generally are not exactly having a hard life. Well, I'm not going to need more now, am I? And so it does become the frustration of you want one, but you almost want to rent one. You want to rent one for 2 or 3 weeks while you perfect and make a shit ton of, and then hand it back. And so I just kind of... So I want one, but I don't need one. I mean, I would really make good use of one should I have one, but I can't really justify spending 300 or 400 quid on a decent, because obviously you don't want a shit one, you want a decent one. And if you're going to do that, well, you want it to be a decent size so you can make some slightly bigger things. So, such as storage for the bobbins, such as, somewhere to put all your threads, because I bought a thing. I think I yeeted it. Yeah, I yeeted it. I have a bit of a shit pile. I yeeted it to the far side. And it is one of those things, is that, actually, you've just made me think of something. Do these fit in that? I don't think they do. Hang on. I have a real love and quite a few of these little they're done by really useful boxes, and they've got, they stack, they're great. I've got a feeling, yeah, bastards, look at this. If I put it in, yeah, these are literally, I don't know, 4mm longer than the box, so they'd only go in kind of diagonally. So these are like, again, you'd want to make something very much like the really useful boxes, but 0.5 centimetre bigger so you could put your bobbins in them. Yay! I must admit, I really love the really useful boxes because, well, they're really useful. I use them for storing a lot of my cones of yarn because, well, you can see in them. You can get coloured, you can get opaque ones, but I've got the transparent ones so you can see them and go, oh, that's right, that's my white box, because obviously white is a common colour. White, that's my white box. I've got all these colours. I've tried to group all the colours so they stay together. And yeah, you do. And I've got a lot of those. And my original plan was, and try not to laugh, my original plan was to put those boxes up in my loft. Now, that sounds like a really stupid plan, but think about it. They're inside a plastic box, so they're fairly safe and secure from anything that might wander up into my loft in terms of rodent and yarn munching. You don't tend to get moths in your loft. Secondly, during the summer, it's hotter than, Satan's crotch. And in the winter, it's pretty cold. So things don't, any form of yarn-destroying object is not going to live very long up there. So they'd be quite safe up there. Plus, my house is quite long, so I've actually got quite a long bit of roof. It's not very wide, but it's quite long. So I've got quite a long section that I could put them to the side, because obviously the slopey roof bit, they can live in this bit while you walk down the middle. I could fit a lot of boxes up there, and that was my plan. So I got it all sorted. I even got a ladder with a wide ladder so that I could fit boxes up there, and it's got a handle on it so that I don't skid down on my butt. I thought it all out. Do you know what I put up there? Absolutely nothing. But it's still a plan, right? It is still a plan. You know how these plans go. I've got plans. It is the thought that counts. And of course, one of the big problems with crafting is that, so you've got a spare hour. Do you A, tidy your house, or B, do interesting crafting? Well, of course, you do the crafting, don't you? So I never get round to the tidying. So I live in a bit of a sty, frankly. But I'm also single, so no one cares. The dogs don't mind. I don't mind. It's fine. I mean, this room really is a bit of a hovel. There's piles of things everywhere, but it's all crafting related. Pretty much everything. It's either that or it's the Amazon boxes from the delivery of the crafting thing. And I mean, I've literally... If you live in a show house, there is something wrong with you. If you live in a house that, you walk in and everything gleams, glistens, and there is literally, 2 token ornaments on a shelf, and your house is not a home, love. It is a museum. As you say, it's a museum. It's a show house. It is not a home. And my house looks a little like a hoarder's house. So, hello. I'm going to live up to that. But at the same time, I know where everything is. And that's the bit that really upsets people. I've got a friend who's kind of got OCD, and she really struggles with me because I do not have a problem with the state of my house. And seriously, I really don't. And she does. She really, really does. She can't understand how I can cope with it. She is the lady that in winter, should it be slightly damp outside, her dog will go outside, come back in, walk on the wooden floor. She will now bleach the entire floor of the house because it put a paw print on it. Not just, wait, rub it off, or, just do the little patch. No. She will bleach the entire floor of her house. And of course, laminate floor doesn't like being bleached, so she killed it. But, I find myself, I am the opposite end. Oh, look, there's a paw print, whatever. And literally, I almost don't notice. I do notice in her house because I know it bothers her. So, for example, occasionally I used to drop in and check on her dogs for her. And I'd get in and someone would have peed on the floor. Now, in my house, I would have just kind of mopped it up, given it a bit of a wipe, you know, maybe sprayed it briefly with something if I was really in the mood. But to be honest, mopped it up, moved on. It's laminate floor, it'll be fine. I'm not eating my dinner off it, really not that bothered. But in her house, you bleach it. In her house, you bleach. I mean, I didn't bleach the entire floor of a house like she would, but I did bleach the whole room. It was her kitchen, so it wasn't so bad. But, you know, I did bleach the room it was done in. And the time that her dog had pooped on the carpet, I picked up the rug, I put it in the washing machine. I didn't just kind of scrape up the offending substance and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then kind of leave it to her for when she got home. I did what she would do. Now, I'm not saying I wouldn't put rugs in my washing machine, it wouldn't take it, but at the same time, I just kind of give it a bit of a scrub in the aforementioned area till it looks clean. I've got carpet cleaner and all the rest of it, so I'd use that. She doesn't. She literally puts it in the washing machine and stuff. So it, you know, like when in Rome, do the right thing, right? But it is, I have much lower standards of living. I do not feel this burning need to bleach my house. I do not, feel the need to go, to use the oven and then spend the rest of the day cleaning the kitchen. It's just not a thing. If it bothers me, I will do something about it. And occasionally, things bother me, so I do something about it. But it's, takes a lot more than it would for my friend. But part of it, I think, comes from crafting, because you have to have so many things related to this, to relate to that, and bits of this and bits of that, and you don't want to put them all away because you'll need them again tomorrow, that you don't put them away, then it looks chaotic, and then you need something else so you get all of those bits out. Now it's really chaotic, and all you've really done is get out 2 things. But you didn't. You got out the 22 things that go with it. Because, like everything, if you're going to do some cross-stitch, if you need a needle, you possibly have a pin holder, you have maybe one of those needle keepers, you have your stand for it, potentially, you have the frame for it, you have your skeins of yarn, you have the pattern, you have the... Well, suddenly you've got out 20 things, because you need a decent pair of scissors, you want something to mark off where you've got to on your pattern. You've suddenly got out 20 things just to do a few little X's on a piece of fabric. It is not, no craft is as simple as it could be. Now, with lace making, you do not need fancy bobbins. By the way, if your shop sells bobbins, feel free to drop a link in the chat. Chat links are allowed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I would love to see what bobbins you sell. I may not buy them because, well, shipping and shit. Feel free to. Well, that's all right. But someone else locally to you might go, oh, I really want some of those, or oh, I like those. So, but I'd like to see them, if nothing else. One can window shop, we all like a good window shop. So, you've got some Belgium, you've got the, you've got ebony ones. Now, that was the one thing about my... Yeah, when I bought these, the same seller sells these exact same size kind of bobbins in ebony, and by golly, I really wanted those. But I just can't justify the price. Well, yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, well, if I tell you, I think I paid £74 for 150 of these, right? The ebony ones are £235 for the same amount. I can't justify spending that much. See, you have got the Danish bobbins. You've got these ones. You see, you've got the Danish ones. There they are. Danish ones. They're on your website. Nah. Yeah, these are quite popular. I like these. Yeah, you got the English, they're called Midlands, darling. French ones. It's funny how the French ones are very, very, very similar to this, but just different. Honiton toothpicks. How much are your Honiton toothpicks? 50, 75. Oh, that's not too bad. Like a lot of these things, the problem is that, for example, this particular pattern takes 74 or whatever it is bobbins. I think it's 74, right? It's been a while since I counted them because, of course, each time I have to empty, if ever a bobbin gets low, I just fill it up. I don't have to count them again because I know it's the right number because I made it last time. But the biggest problem with everything is that if I'm making effectively something this wide, right? Because that is the widest point of my structure, right? I would need twice as many to do it top to bottom. Which is why I'm not making my net curtain in strips, of course. Because, well, this is the least amount of bobbins to cover the space. You make the squares and then join them together. And it's just one of those kind of weird things. That's right. Windows plant. Basically, yes. Pretty much exactly what this is. Other than you don't go round and round in a spiral, yes, it is basically the granny square of bobbin lace. Well put. And I got the inspiration for using the squares because there is a lady who has a website here in the UK who basically has a crap load of these squares. Not this particular one, this is my own version. But she has a crap load of squares, very, very similar to this, which was the inspiration. And she joins them all and calls it a tablecloth. And my brain kind of went, I wouldn't use it as a tablecloth. I mean, it's not very absorbent for gravy spills and all the rest of it. It would still damage the table underneath. But being lace would make a... I mean, in terms of net curtain, it's not going to be the perfect net curtain, because the perfect net curtain would obviously be a crap load of, say, the ground stitch done with an infinitely finely thin thread, with a bit of a pattern here or there, and maybe, kind of like almost in a U shape towards the bottom or such, and made in one piece. Having squares with joins in the middle is going to look a little bit odd for a net curtain. But I also need to point out, it's going up on my landing. I live alone with 2 dogs. The dogs will not care. Visitors to my house, such as I ever have, which is not many, use a toilet downstairs. They have no need to go upstairs. So they will not be seeing said net curtain. The only person who's going to see this net curtain at the end of the day is me. So there are a number of concessions I have made myself. One of which is I glue the ends. Now, traditionally one does not glue the ends, but if you're going to ever have to wash this thing, the last thing on earth I ever want is to have spent a month per square, which is roughly how long it takes me, sewed them all together, made my net curtain, to realise one day that they look like someone's, wiped their backside on it or something, because it's, been sitting in dust, got on it or whatever. Go to rinse it in water and just watch it fall apart. I would die. I literally don't think emotionally I could handle that. So I'm gluing the ends to make sure they don't come undone. Ever, frankly. And it's not ideal. I don't believe in knots. I don't know if Naughty Celt's watching, but Naughty Celt will laugh at me because he is a knot man, but I have a real problem with knots in that I can make an unmovable knot, I follow it exactly, and then it slides a bit. Well, it can't slide off the end. That is the most important. So, small dab of glue, it can't move, and it is a really small dab of glue. Small dab of glue, that's not moving. This is what I need, right? So I am gluing them, and I know that, you know, lace makers of yesteryear are already turning in their graves. But I also found out it's not just me. I bought off a guy on eBay a number of things from the deceased mother of a friend, and they were lace bobbin patterns. Someone mentioned knots, and as if by magic, Nauticelt appears. Hello, mister. Nauticelt is a brilliant guy. We like Nauticelt. But I struggle with knots because my knots just don't seem to work the way they should, right? And I bought these patterns off eBay, and with them came some did you get your hair cut? But I ordered these patterns, and with the patterns came some of the things that this person had made. And what was the most glorious part of one day, I ordered a bunch of stuff, and initially he put up a couple of folders and I paid for those, and I think I paid 20 quid a folder, which sounds a lot, but when you consider that most people are charging £6.50 to £10 for a lace pattern, an A4 folder of patterns, 20 quid is not a lot. And so I bought a couple of folders, and then he put something else up, so I kind of offer 20 quid, and he accepted. Next lot came up, offer 20 quid, came up. So I ended up with about 4 things from him for this. In the last one, it was not as big, and it was a bit more pile of bitsy than before. She'd made a square, and she'd glued the ends when she'd sewed them in. Now, she did a better job of sewing them in than I ever do. And I don't know quite how she did it, because hers just looked so much better, even though she'd done exactly what I did. But she'd glued the ends. And to be honest, that was worth more than 20 quid to me alone, because it's not just me. Someone else. And all she did was put it in a binder, and she'd glued the ends. So I did feel somewhat vindicated. 1, 2, 3, 4 and a half. Hang on. This isn't right. 1. Oh, there it is. Duh! 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We don't need you. I was right. So yes, sorry, I was just checking I hadn't messed up, because stopping and starting is when you tend to make mistakes. So, yeah, I was ever so pleased that I, got this pile of stuff, and in it was a little square, bit smaller than this, but a little square, and she'd glued the edges. She glued the ends down to make sure they didn't come undone. Cracking. I don't know what, obviously she's up in heaven now, but God bless her. Yeah, please give her if she's got any dreams, please grant them. That was so worth it to me. To find out it's not just me who goes, I'm sorry, I can't trust that knot. I want more. I need more than that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's stick you for the moment. I tend to put things in sticks to, realistically, some of them should go in here, but thank you. You can always come back, of course. Do feel free to come back. I usually stream a bit later during the week, so it'll be a bit more your time, but you might be at work, so, depends. Oh, yes. I never expected to be the first person to glue the edges, to glue the ends down, but at the same time, because, well, it's we don't talk about that. You are out. 1, 2, 3, 4. In you come. Fair enough. I know how time runs away. Time's very good at that. I especially find that after work, because I do this after work. By the time after work, I'll probably have a bit of a snack so that I'm not sitting here trying to eat my bobbins or something. Fire up the stream, do the stream, upload the stream, it's bedtime. Well, where did all of that go? You know, it does disappear really well sometimes. See, one of the things that's kind of weird. So they asked earlier about how long should the string on the bobbins be, and of course the answer is I have no idea. And part of the reason I have no idea is this. So this pair of bobbins came in from over here, bounced off the edge, and came down to here. But now it bounces out again. Oh, that reminds me. What was I going to have for tea? I'm sure I had a big plan for tea, and now I can't think what it was. You know how, like, you remember you had a plan? Or you remember you had something in mind, and then your brain kind of goes, oh, I needed to remind you of something. Yes, brain. But I don't know what it was. Well, that's really helpful, you know. So, let's put these back in this stick. So I'm just going to scoot these over onto the stick so that the stick is a full stick and can go round the corner out of the way. Now I need these and these for now we do stitch number 3. So here we have the end of the stitch over there. Now we need to do, you have a twist, you do not, twist, cross, twist, cross, okay. Idiot, don't need to pin that one. I need to do this one and then pin this one. So yes, I had a bit of fun yesterday. I posted the fact that I'd done my Flanders chunk up, and first comment I got, well, there's supposed to be a gimp thread round that cloth stitch. There is, love. If you want to be all smarmy about it, no, you're wrong. Enjoy. She then came back, oh, it's the wrong side of the pin. I was like, yeah, I realised that afterwards, but I wasn't going to change it midway through it. So, you know, I'm aware of that, thank you. I never said it was perfect. In fact, I seem to recall I said there was much wrong with it that I would change for the next time round. There is no one more right than an internet person who can't see you. Right. Let's make you a bit shorter because you're really long. You go over there. We need 4 of you. That doesn't feel right. No. Let's make these a bit longer. Give me a pin. Picked it up the right way and turned it round the wrong way. Idiot. You're coming undone, I can see you. What I really need to do, that's what I do when I put them in hedgie, is grab a pinch of needles. Now it might not work so well with under magnet, magnetized world, but basically I let's do this. Yeah, these stick a bit too well to the pot, to be honest. But one advantage of having them at least lie side to side is when you pick one up, you don't stab yourself with it. So what I really need to do is make a pin sorter, because even if that's all it does, is just push them so that they're side to side, not all the same way up. At least then, you know, my poor fingers have less chance of being stabbed and, well, turning into gushing fountains of blood. So I know we've only drawn blood a few times, but we've certainly had quite a few occasions where I've picked up my finger and there's been a pin sticking out at the end of it. And quite substantially sticking out the end of it, not just kind of caught on the edge. I mean, actually, you know. Right. Tuck you up there, because we don't need you. The threads love catching on pins when you don't want them to. There we go. Yeah, I need to change that hanger because I really do not give up. Just quickly look at that. Oh, there we go. Oh, so. See, this is the problem. You get the wrong ends of the pin, and you try and pick them up, and all it does is slide off the bottom. He's feeling a little naked at the moment. I didn't spend this morning filling him back up, so he's naked now, and so he was bashfully hiding off screen because it actually takes quite a long time to fill it with pins, because I really do stuff him full of pins, poor little soul. Because for the same reasons it does to get them out, to get the pins to put in. Yeah, because to get the pins out of the tin to put them on the hedgehog, I end up doing this, straightening a load, and then sitting there with, like, it's right, because I picked them out of the thing, they're not straight. But that's right, I'm just kind of taking a few dead heads out. But so I'll get a load of pins like this in my hand, and I'll try and, mush them all so they're kind of together-ish, and they're not falling off, and then put all the pins into Hedgie like this. Can't really see, he's off screen. So if I kind of randomly put some pins in Hedgie like this, pick all the ones with the heads the right way up. See, that's two together, and you don't want to be doing that, and I've just dropped a load. See, this is why because you see, you can't just grab four and shove them in, you have to do them one by one. So you put loads of pins in hedgy like this. And my ability to pick up 2 pins at a time is unbound. Now I need to turn them over because most of the heads are at this end. She says immediately picking one that's not, because it was obviously hiding in the crux of my finger. Let's see, now you do this. But you need hedgie to be quite densely packed, so you start off with them fairly loose. And to be honest, I am going to do it because I want to get these out the bottom of my tray. So, in fact, let me scrape these out of here like this, because they're easier to pick up when they're not magnetised. Oh, that was a stupid move. That's right, I just put them on top of the pin pot. Not the open pin pot, I need to point out. I'm not quite that stupid, but it was close. It's the cardboard box. So now I've got... I'll try and pat them down a bit so that they're all roughly together. And I'm sure that went through my skin. Yes, it did. Right, so now I've got a load more pins. And I go around picking out the pins and stuffing them in. Inevitably end up picking up 2. And what you'll see is once I've done this pile, I chew through them pretty quick, which is kind of depressing. Hence, you have to really load him up with pins because you just run out. And it is in part because he's little, but they don't make big ones because part of the joy of this hedgie is he's got a hole in the bottom so you can attach him to your cushion. Now, obviously, all I really need is a bigger one that I can drill a hole in the bottom and then put a pin through, because that's really all it needs. But I can't find a bigger one. I can't find even a dull one that's bigger. So the only thing I've thought of is buying a wooden coaster, making a pin cushion, and then drilling a hole in the bottom of the coaster, well, in the middle of the coaster, so that I can shove a pin through it. Seems a little excessive, but it is kind of where I'm at the moment. To be honest, this is exceptionally where I'm at. The only thing I haven't done is decide on the fabric I want. Well, the only thing I haven't done is decide on the fabric I want, because I do fear that it's not very good for cloth to be constantly pricked with pins. So it needs to be, I would probably want to do 2 layers of cloth just to be a little bit more steady. And then I'd fill it with walnut shells. I've got the walnut shells, already got those for arseholes. That's right. It's not really a problem, but I don't want it down there. There's a pin that escaped. Where's my magnet? I am surrounded by magnets. I like magnets. But because I've got a biscornu I'm making, but the thing's going to be fucking tiny. When it said it was making an 8cm one, I thought it meant 8 centimeters. No, what it means is you make 2 8cm squares and then you make the biscornu out of it. Not that the biscornu is 8 centimeters. So, awesome. Anyway, there's Hedgie. Now he's got some pins in. Now you'll soon discover that these pins really do not last very long, which is why I was being lazy and doing them out the pot. But yeah, I am going to do that. I will get a coaster and make me a pin cushion to go in it, and then, you know, glue the pin cushion down around the edges so that it's, you know, and across some of the base so that it is firmly held. And then, and having drilled a hole through the bottom, because you drill the hole first, because pretty much. So, for example, let me extract my magnet off the phenomenally large pot. So, yesterday, I demonstrated on stream that I had bought some more pins to back up my, just a couple of pins. These are the Prim 0.5mm high tension steel pins, super fine. So that's those. And I'd ordered some slightly fatter ones. Disappointingly, came in a cardboard box. But these are a slightly hair fatter. But there are a gazillion pins. I do like the plastic pot. I'm really disappointed these didn't come in the pot, because the pot's really good to keep them in, obviously. Cardboard boxes will wear and over time and use, so slightly disappointed in that. Because already this box looks slightly second-hand already, because look, this can come out. So it just has that this is not going to last feel to it. Hence, I got tubs to put pins in, so that my pins can stay pinified, as well as screw-on lids, because that way they can't fall off when the dog sends it flying. So, you know, small mercies and all that kind of crap. But yeah. We did have thinner pins, but the pins basically bent every time I said the word pin. 3 of them would tie themselves in knots, and all I seemed to do was spend my life chucking away pins because they were bent in half, and arguably no good to me. Whereas these ones, I haven't thrown a single one out for being bent yet, and we've done, well, square and a half basically, because we've done a couple of other bits with it as well. So hence we like these pins. I did also prove that whatever pin size I use, once you wash it, it looks exactly the same. So the only difference is that when you come to sewing the ends into the beginning, or the ends into the end threads into the beginning holes, the bigger the hole, the more chance you've got of getting your thing through it to get to join the two together. So if in anything, fatter pins are good. So the fact that these don't bend, I mean, you can bend them, but they don't bend by looking at them. I mean, seriously, if I pull this pin out, I think I was bending them by the fact that I would use a nail and pull, and it would just bend in half. Just haven't got time for that. And they weren't cheap, and you didn't get many either, because they only sold them in like 15-gram packs, and they were like £9 a go. Whereas, don't get me wrong, this was hyper expensive. These were not. Yet they're both 500 grams of pins. The second one cost me 30 quid. The first one cost me 50 quid. But it did come in a nice little pretty box. So, I mean, I wish I could buy the boxes though. I'd love to buy the boxes. But again, you see, if you had a 3D printer, I'd be making a box. Back to the 3D printer wish, right? You'd make pin boxes and you'd do things, but I swear I only need to rent one. I do not need to own one, because once I've made a load of bobbins and I've done a load of tools, I probably wouldn't need any more. so I could, you know, return it. Just need to borrow one from. That's what it is. Borrow stroke rent one. That's what it is. That's all I need. I like rose ground. In my initial in one of my initial concepts, I had the rose ground on the outside because I thought that in a way rose ground would make a really good net curtain. But I decided in the end to originally it was going to have rose ground, hexagons, and then ground stitch in the middle, or even cloth stitch. But I played around with it, and this is what I decided on. I don't hate it. I'm not mad at it. So I'm cool with that. So this reminds me of yesterday. If you think of the ground stitch I was doing yesterday, this is very, very similar in that you do kind of a stitch at the top. Now, admittedly with this one you put pins in, but bear with it. So in the last one you did just that. Well, this you cover the pins, so that's fine. We've done one of those now. Then you do the one to the side, and they did complicated shenanigansy ones, but we do exactly the same again. And put in a pin. And do it again. And then we do the same on the other side, because, well, that's the way it works. Grab a pin, shove it in the hole, do it again, make you shorter because you're annoying. Go back to where we started. So this would be the bit under the pin in the previous one. So to an extent, these are very, very similar, but because of the number of twists and the fact that you pin it, it doesn't pull as tight, so it makes a beautiful, pretty little rose ground. Whereas on their one, it makes this kind of thick, chunky ground stitch. The joys of pins. By the way, a guy who'd done some Flanders saw my post, and he said, he said, oh, it looks really, looks really well tensioned, well done. And he agreed with me. He found himself forgetting to put pins in round the heart because they didn't achieve anything. So again, it's nice when you hear someone say exactly what you thought, which was, these don't serve a purpose. Why am I doing this to myself? Why am I making more work? Why is this a thing? And he found exactly the same. He found himself forgetting to put pins in around the edge because they just don't do anything. Other than, kind of signify this is the edge, but then you've got a line on the piece of paper that says that. I don't need a pin to tell me that. I've got a line on the piece of paper. So I did feel quite good because he basically made a very simple, I think he might even have made the same square I am. And he went back and undid things when he realised he'd got them wrong. So he would, as did I to an extent. But I think he had some issues, I had some issues, we had different issues, But realistically, very much making the same thing. And very much in agreement that what he did was, so the bottom corner of my heart, which was looking really dog-eared because there's nothing holding it in, he actually put a load of plats in to hold it still so he could see what he had done. And again, you're kind of sitting there going, it shouldn't be that way. It shouldn't be so complicated. Because then you'd have to undo it when you go to continue. That's not, So never mind. Right. One more to go. But as I say, it's always nice when someone else thinks the same way you do, or you discover someone else kind of for their own sanity did the same as you did, even though, lace makers around the world would, pelt you with stones for it or something, such as the gluing of the knots. Because they would. You're not supposed to glue the knots. Yeah, but I don't want to spend hours of my life, which is, let's face it, feeling rapidly ebbing away because it isn't exactly a fast hobby. If I could make a whole square in a day, I probably wouldn't mind. Because then if I wanted to make a repair to it, I could make a repair to it. But when it takes a month, no, I need this to be done. Once I'm done, I need it to be done and stay done. And I don't want to be crying when I have to watch it one day and watch the whole thing melt into a big knot of mess. Because, of course, all of those inevitable ends would end up a mess. So can we not be making our lives horrible just because tradition says it's 2024? If I want to, 2025 even, if I want to do something for my own sanity, bite me. If I can turn up to work and claim that I'm a cat, I can fucking glue a knot, I can glue a knot because I don't want it to come undone. And that is no disrespect to those people who feel they are cats. Kudos to you. But in this day and age, when we accept you for the wonderful human beings that you are, I can glue a knot if I want. It only affects me, so basically. Must be getting a bit hungry. Did I not eat yet? No, I didn't. Okay. You're off. I swear you're doing this to spite me. Can you stop being so long, please? Next pile of bobbins. 4 of you. Shunt you around a bit more. Right. You can go straight back in here because you are done. And we need to finish the corner. There we go. Now my brain's telling me I screwed up one of the rose ground earlier. Oh, no, I done. Pretty mad if I did. I think so. So for those wondering why I said I chew through pens, to give you an idea, I just calculated in my head while I was in that brief pause. To do this rose ground section is 80 pins. You do chew through pins quite a lot. Hence, can I just screw that up? got a feeling I scooted that up. Wasn't entirely insane. I thought I'd done the wrong thing, but I hadn't, so that's okay. Give me the loop. Thank you. Be shorter and stay shorter. You're done. Let's move you back over here out the way so I can put you up there. Should really be longer, but I can't bother to change them all. See, that's 2 pins. A drink is a good thing. Ads are about to hit in 8.5 minutes. Pins again. Right. Oh, that's the raised ground bit done. Now, the question is, which bit should I do next? See, at this now exact point in time, I have a choice of 2 pieces that I can do. One, this bit of cloth stitch coming across here, which will require these 3 bobbins here. Actually, it's those 3. Yeah, it's those 3. No, it's not. It is those 3, right? Not that it matters. Or I can do this cloth stitch bit, which requires some of these bobbins. Now, when I did the first triangle, take care not to count. It actually matters not. It, you know, both must get done. In terms of some things, in lace you can work this angle or this angle, and you in fact can change your mind and do a bit of kind of... Now, I tend to work in batches, So like I've just done the rose ground, and then I would next do cloth stitch or cloth stitch. You can arguably work all the way down the row. You really can. But I find that I would be prone to mistakes doing that, because you would be constantly changing stitches between sections, and it would be too easy to make a mistake, and then you've got a heck of a lot more to undo when you come back to it. So from that point of view, I don't tend to do that. I tend to do a chunk, do the next chunk, do a chunk, do a chunk. So at the worst, you're going to undo the last chunk, kind of thing, right? Let's make these slightly longer because they're all really short. Like that. So we will stick these. Now, generally, I have worked down the right hand side. Just because why not? Today, I'm not in that mood. I fancy doing this bit of cloth stitch. So I'm going to unwrap these bobbins and put them over here. And grab these bobbins, which make up the section in question. And I think I need one of those. I need you. Because you have already left the building, which you have. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's right. You sit over there. Across you. And we get to the end. We pin a hole. We cross. We put these bobbins back because they're done. Give it a bit of a tweak. We need to add you, so we need to twist you, and we put pin in that. Oh. I am hungry, my stomach's off again. You are now done. I need you, but not you. Come on, you can go back in. Stop mating. Can you not? Just, oh. Which is really weird, considering that this pillow should be pretty level, I thought, but apparently not. Let's make these all longer. You need to be longer too. Maybe a bit longer than that. There we go. Stabby, stabby. you are done with. You go back there. Now you can come out and be twisted. She says having a horrible feeling she didn't twist the last pair, but we're going to try and pretend that we did. Stabby, stabby. See, I'm basically chewed through all those pins now. So this is part of the reason why I was being lazy and doing from the pot, is because you do chew through pins, something chronic. And I have a rabbiting dog kicking me in the butt. Body's trying to kill me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we shall stick you, and we shall make you longer, because, well, not you, but you, because that's just a thing. And put you back in a stick. And if you can hear my stomach rumble, I apologise. But it's off, singing to the world of how I deprive it of food and sustenance. too long. If it falls off the bottom of the cushion, it's too long. Last pin that I did that is not in the pot is in the hole. Tightens everybody up. No, it's not. Comes out of the hole. And we need to do these. Like that. Now we put it in the hole. To the pot. So we take Hedgie out. Go back to pot. Bobbins. Hey, Wintermon. It's not. It's, in principle, it is excessively simple. And I do mean that very genuinely. It's not, well, of course it's simple. No. It is technically really simple. There is the pattern on my thing. Each spot is a pinhole. Amongst the pinholes there are some markings, so like this zigzag bit says do a zigzag bit. These little squares do some squares. You follow the piece of paper underneath. You stick pins where you need pins. So I've got to the edge, it needs a pin, it gets a pin, I stuff a pin in it. Because this is turning around, I have to do it twice, and then you get back the way you came. So there are two moves in lace making. Cross, which is left over right. Take this one, put it there. Twist, which is take the right hand one and put it over the left hand one. That's it. There are two moves. Cross, twist. Now occasionally, depending on what you're doing, you have multiple crosses and twists and repetitions. But it's still only cross or twist. So, you know, that's right, I just need to put those out because I've done with those. So realistically, you go along and you cross and twist your way across the world in this bit, because I'm doing a zigzag bit. This one's too long, so it's getting on my nerves. Hang on, make it a bit shorter. And now I need to add two more, because that's the way it works. It's how you go diagonally, is you take off one side and add them the other. A bit like doing Legos, you just kind of, you don't actually go diagonally in Lego, you just move one column to the right. So, and then we go back. You're in the way. Go on, back up. Put a pin in again. Stabby, stabby. Twisty, twisty. Back we go. You are now done with. still 2 more from over here. Penny, penny. Twisty, twisty. I'm a bit of a fad crafter, so right now this is my core main thing. However, I am also a spinner, weaver, knitter, crocheter. I do cross stitch. I'm also capable of other things that I haven't touched in quite a while, such as corn dolly making. Believe me, that's a really strange hobby. I'm capable of carpentry. I am capable of sewing. Basically, I'll have a go at it and then, frankly, give or take a bit. It's just... So yes, I will. Oh, I also do tablet weaving and inkle weaving and yeah, I've got a house full of crap basically. This is my current project, and it's going to take me a while. So, hence, kind of streaming it because it's going to take me a really long time. About 18 months, and I've done, well, 4 and, I don't know, 3/8 of a square of squares out of 18, so you know, it's getting there slowly. You all seem a bit short. Putting them on sticks stops them tangling and having little parties and doing weird things when you're not looking. Because believe me, they do that. I know that you're thinking, but Liz, that's an inanimate object. No, they do that. They do it to spite you. Absolutely. So, and they come undone to spite you as well. It is the way of the bobbin. Now, you don't look right. Let me turn this so I can see a bit of an angle on it. Move you out the way a second. So you should be there, so you should have that on the end of there, like that. And then you get a twist, because we're coming into this. You get to live over there. Table's in the way. Let's move my table slightly. Let's move me. Let's be more accurate. Right, so first up, we need to twist you and stick you in and find a pin. Another pin. This corner's always a little bit awkward because the bobbin you want to go back and forwards is coming in from the side. Well, if you work it once and then work it again like you're supposed to, it's on the wrong side. So hence it's kind of a bit of a fudge almost at the start, but because it is at the start and it's in a corner, it actually doesn't really show as much as you think it might. So by the time I put this pin in, the weirdness disappears. Because it tensions up and it disappears. So this is how it works. We need 2 of you. And a pin. And this time, because the diagonal is going this way, we add from this side and take away from this side. So. Which means you end up with a different number of pins, bobbins, which does get really confusing, because in your head there should be the same number of bobbins. There should be the 3 bobbins that make the 3 pins across the edge, and 1 to go backwards and forwards. No, going this way are 5, going the other, well, technically 6 with the worker, and going the other way is 3 in a worker, so it's 4. So we spent much time early on drawing it out on a piece of paper and proving that we were not losing our marbles and that this was right and how it should turn out, even though it seems completely wrong, and I'm sure there must be a better way. So see, someone asked about how long the bobbins are. Well, this one's come in from having done the zigzag on the other side, and well, I'm done with it now. I never need it. I don't need it again for ages now. So bobbins don't have direct, straight, simple paths. Mostly they follow down either a line that way or a line that way until they hit a reason to change. So for example, if they hit this, they will come out maybe a bit further down and then go across. Sometimes, like when they get to this corner, they come this way and now they go that way. So it's a bit like bouncing light around. It's how far it's travelled is not as straightforward as, oh well, you just go round here 4 times and that's just how much you need. It's just not that simple, which is remarkably annoying actually. Does that help? You're just undoing, aren't you? You're just being annoying, the pair of you. So, for example, this pair joins in, basically gets wrapped around this pin. It's stuffing in the corner, look. And comes straight out again because we don't need it again for the cloth stitch. It goes on to be a rose ground next. So. Do now is we take that out the way. And we stab you on there. Like that. And we take you. And we stab you. You over there, you over there, and we get you out of there, and we unwrap you from around all the things that you've mated with while I wasn't looking. So we don't need you, and we don't need you yet. We don't need you yet. And now we're back to here. What time is it? 4:45. I am distinctly hungry. Let's do this section and then call it a day. So this is the only pin we can use. So pins, pins, pins. See that? Ever wondered what the small holes are for? It is for putting pins in them so that they stay over there. I didn't need one because that was the end one. Pinged up under my arm. That's all right. Let me make these longer because everybody else is longer. Of course, there's longer and then there's too long. I can't get a grip on any of these pins. To be fair, they are nearly all spiky end up. So let's see if I can flip them a bit like that. See if that helps. getting backache. Sit still for a minute, because sometimes it's just that art of leaning at just the wrong angle that sets it off. And some days it's good about it, and some days it's not so good about it. Yesterday it did 5.5 hours and frankly was pretty reasonable about it. Today it's been grouchy. Possibly because I did 5.5 hours yesterday, but mostly because it's just in one of those moods. So, just go with the flow. Come on! I really must go to the optician and get a new pair of glasses. But the cost of a new pair of glasses is enough to scare anybody. Let's put it this way. The cost of a pair of glasses from an average optician's here in the UK for me is more money than I've spent in the last few days, including a rather boisterous purchase of bobbins. So I had, and for the money I've spent in the last few days, I have taken my car from being a dead, decaying heap on my driveway to insured, because I've renewed my insurance. Not that it had run out, but my insurance runs out in a couple of days, so I've renewed my insurance. I have purchased a new tax disc, which is a roadworthiness tax that we Brits pay every frigging year. I have ordered my crap ton of bobbins, and it's all of that. So taking my car to a garage, getting them to fix it, diagnose what was wrong with it, looking after it because it had sat still since August and not moved. Well, technically since before August. Well, I just don't remember when before August. I went to use it in August and it was knackered, so I never quite got around to sorting it out. So kind of that's why it's been at least August. And yeah, all of that costs less than one pair of glasses for me to see and act like a normal human being. And feels kind of wrong that all of that amounts to less than a cost. And it's not like I'm having designer fancy lit frames on it. I'm not particularly having overly complicated snazzy lenses. That's not very, I mean, they're varifocals. I will go that obviously I'm paying for that, but my varifocal lenses, a pair of frames is usually well in excess of £1,000, and it's just ridiculous. It should not, you know, it's not like I'm short-sighted by choice. Believe me, fucking heck not. I am, you know, it just, so it bugs me quite a lot that they make that much money out of me for something I can't control. It's not like being fat, or it's not like, you know, it's caused by me being addicted to something. It is a genuine medical requirement that I have glasses so that I may act like a normal human being, and yet I have to pay through the nose for them. If I was doing it, you know, and more to the point, I can't not pay that kind of money for it. So I cannot have varifocals, but then I need multiple pairs of glasses. And while technically you can have bifocals, which are cheaper, I'm not going to deny that, my brain freaks out and will not accept bifocal style lenses. And why? Did I faux pas at some point here? Problem is every time I lean forward, because I've got boobs, all it does is push the wretched pillow away from me. And I'm trying to get my head down to see what went wrong. It's hard to see because there's strings and they need tensioning and... This is a mystery. So let me undo this a second. Yoink. It's you two, but there seems to be... Is it because you mate with some of you? I think it is. But one of you is round the wrong side of a pin. I know what's wrong with it. I know exactly what's wrong with it. Or at least I think I do. Undo that one. Is that back far enough? Maybe. Where's a long pokey pin? Not really a long pokey pin, but you might do. You are a shit. You hid round pins. Right. Put you back over there. And you. And you. It's kind of funky in there, but I think it is. Problem is sometimes they look funky and sometimes they don't, and it's almost like random, but it's not random, but it is. In that occasionally they just don't look right until you've done a load more of them, because it's not pulling the threads in quite the way it should, or could, as the case may be. So because it's not pulling the threads quite right, they look wrong. And then a while later you'll look back and they're all worked out. But you need to kind of have the tension on them. Of later stitches, shall we call it, to make them look good. be slightly upsetting. So put you over there. You over there. Occasionally your bobbins do stuff like this and you have no idea how they have tangled this much when they're stationary. get to play now is stab the pin. So we move the pin pop before we send that flying. And we turn this round because we need this side really. And we move the bobbins. And then we play Stabbity Pin. I'm going to take my glasses off because I'm short-sighted and it's easier if I get closer to it. Let's play Stabby Pin. Now you can do this with your fingers and do multiple pins at any one time, but it's not as easy as it sounds. So, because you can, but they're quite hard to push in. So it's easier to play stabby pin with your pin pusher. And once all the pins are down, you and I can play How Many Mistakes Did Liz Make? For it is usually around this time that the mistakes become obvious, or at least more obvious than they were before. Because as I work on the pillow, the angle of vision that I have, basically all I can overly see to a large extent is a sea of pins. But I don't see them as a sea of pins. What I actually see is just this grey hue with a hint of white squiggles underneath of it. Not because of my eyesight, just because that's kind of how it looks. And I mean, if you look now, if I take my hand away, you will see that this portion, even to you on camera, is a lot clearer, even though it's the same pins. You know, it's not like I've changed the pins out for super fine ones, but everything's just much more visible. Now, previously we were taking the pins out, and to be honest, that's a good thing. But a common issue I was having was that as triangles turned the corner, because I'd taken the pins out of the section that I had completed. Now I wasn't taking all the pins out, but I was taking a majority of the pins, most of the pins out. I would leave like one along the edge and one along like the live edge, and I started leaving 3 rows of pins on the live edge because we were having problems that some of the rose ground, and it really only shows on the rose ground, were getting really distorted when I turned the corner and obviously put some pressure on it, and the pressure would go back round the corner and, well, it would wink them out of shape quite a bit. One layer would usually get quite flat. And when I made it 3 rows of pins, so I'd leave like this one, and this one, this row here would all flatten against the bottom pin. So hence, this time round, we are trying leaving all the pins in. Just because, well, we'll leave all the pins in. Now this will mean, come the end, pulling all the pins out will be a bitch. Because pins that are pushed right down to the bottom like this are evil to get out. Because, well, they're flat against the piece of paper. So, but if I flatten them all against the piece of paper, they then don't catch on things, well, as much. They don't tend to catch on things, let's be more accurate. So as a result, hence we are pushing loads of pins down, because they will then not be a problem for us later. But they will then be a different kind of problem for us later, if you know what I mean. So that looks like the live pins. Not on that. Not a couple on that one. Right, so there we have pushed down our pins, and now, as you can see, the pillow's gone to a really jaunty angle now. But as you can see from that, it looks quite a bit different now the pins are down, and it looks a lot brighter and clearer as to what's going on. And of course now the pins aren't there for the bobbins to catch on and get in the way. So now of course it also means they can escape, which is potentially a threat hazard. C'est la vie. Now, I know it's only been 3.5 hours, and I could arguably fit in a bit more before my tea, but I am real hungry, so I'm going to have an early tea. And so I beg your forgiveness. I will take a photograph of where I'm at, because I do this every time. Let me put my pot pins away before I catapult them around the universe, because that is what I have done with pins. Well, it's what the dogs did with pins, and it did result in tears, because turned out I had multiple sizes of pins and didn't know it. And so as a result of that, we then had to play fatsy thinsies with the pins, and well, I can tell you now, it's not fun. It's not a fun game. So let me take a photograph of where we're at, like that, which will be great. And I shall thank you for your time and your lovely attendance. I shall hopefully be back again tomorrow. Now, obviously, one of the things that I don't tend to do is, you will notice that on my schedule, the only time I guarantee I will be here is UK Friday afternoons. There is in part reason for that, because if I set myself, I know, I will start every day at 6 o'clock in the evening, Monday to Thursday. If for whatever reason I can't, I then feel really mad at myself. Now, you can't put in, I will stream at some point between this and this on the Twitch schedule. You can only say, I am streaming between this time and this time. Now, while it doesn't hurt you to fit it in, if I blocked out, 5 p.m. till 10 p.m. every night, the problem is people then expect you to be streaming for 5 hours. And not, I will do a 1 or 2 hour stream inside that time frame. So hence I have not put that there. But I do try to stream every day. It averages, I take a day off every week or so, or every other week, usually every other week. I end up taking a day off, just so that I have a bit of a break and I can do other things and watch other streamers and not be doing this, because, I've got 3.5 hours of video to upload yet, so that'll take me till tea time. Like last night, it took me till 2 o'clock in the morning. So this is part of the reason that I can't always do as much streaming as I'd like, because come the morning, I've got a day job to do, and that takes me from 8 till 4. Well, actually, I think it's 8. Well, usually it's 7:30 till 4, but 8 till 4, and then take a bit of I need to do some dog things. By the time I've done some dog things, I need, get me a bit of a snack so that you don't listen to my stomach rumble for the next Christ knows how many hours. Then I stream for a while. So let's say I stream from 5 till 8. Well, then I've got 3 hours worth of video to upload. That seems to take me like 2 to 2.5 hours, because I've got dog crap internet. Welcome to the UK. And then, so if I leave it till later, so say I don't start till 7, then maybe don't finish till 10, well, then it's like 1 o'clock in the morning before I finish, and I've got work in the morning. So do follow. It'll let you know when I've gone live, and I shall see you tomorrow.